Captain Velthera pressed her thin fingers against the control panel, watching the warning lights flash red across her ship's bridge. The Harmony's light shuddered as another blast hit their shields, sending vibrations through the metal floor. Her crew worked frantically at their stations, their blue-tinted skin pale with fear. "Captain, the engines are completely dead," reported her chief engineer, his voice trembling. "We have no power to the weapon systems either." Velthera nodded, though her heart sank. The Valari people had not fought wars in over 300 years. Their ships were built for exploration and peaceful contact with new species, not for battle. They had removed all weapons from their vessels decades ago, believing that violence was a thing of the past. Through the main viewing screen, she could see the enemy ships approaching. The Kronak vessels looked like living nightmares, their hulls pulsing with organic material mixed with metal. Biomechanical tentacles writhed along their sides, and strange lights flickered beneath their skin-like surfaces. These creatures consumed everything in their path, turning entire star systems into feeding grounds. "How many civilians do we have aboard?" Velthera asked her first officer. 847, Captain, including 62 children and their families. The science teams, the diplomatic corps, and the cultural exchange students. Velthera closed her eyes for a moment. All these innocent lives depended on her decisions. The Kronak had appeared without warning, emerging from some dark corner of space like hungry beasts. Her peaceful exploration vessel had no chance against their bioships. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Kronak leader," the communications officer said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Put it through," Velthera ordered. The screen filled with the horrifying image of Carthul, the Kronak swarm leader. His face was a mixture of flesh and machinery, with cables running directly into his skull. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal mixed with organic sounds. "Valari ship, your resistance is pointless. We will consume your vessel and absorb your crew into our collective. Your biological material will strengthen our swarm. Submit now and we will make your transformation quick." Velthera stood straighter, drawing on the dignity of her people. "We are a peaceful exploration vessel. We have no weapons, no military value. Our people are scientists and diplomats. Please let the civilians go." Carthul's laugh was like the sound of tearing metal. "Your peaceful nature makes you perfect for consumption. Fear makes the biological material more potent. We will harvest every one of you." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in terrible silence. Velthera looked around at her crew, seeing the same hopeless expression on every face. They had sent distress signals to nearby Valari colonies, but help was weeks away. Other spacefaring civilizations in the area had received their calls but refused to help, unwilling to face the Kronak swarm. "Captain," the communications officer said suddenly, "I'm detecting something strange. There are signals coming from the edge of the system, very faint but getting stronger." "What kind of signals?" "Unknown origin, Captain. The language patterns are completely different from anything in our databases, but the technology seems primitive by our standards. Whoever they are, they're using very basic FTL communication methods." Velthera made a decision that would change the fate of her crew and potentially the entire galaxy. "Open all channels. Broadcast on every frequency we can manage." She walked to the center of the bridge, straightening her uniform. Despite the fear in her heart, her voice remained calm and clear. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Velthera, of the Valari Coalition research ship Harmony's Light. We are under attack by hostile forces in the Kepler 442 system. Our ship is disabled and we have no weapons to defend ourselves. We have 847 civilians aboard, including children and their families. These are innocent people who have never harmed anyone." She paused, looking at the faces of her crew, then continued. "If anyone receives this transmission, we desperately need immediate assistance. We are scientists and diplomats on a peaceful mission. The attackers call themselves the Kronak Swarm, and they intend to consume our entire crew. Please, if there is any mercy in the galaxy, if there are any species who still believe in protecting the innocent, help us. We have maybe hours before they break through our remaining shields." The message was sent across space, traveling at the speed of light toward any civilization that might be listening. Velthera knew it was a desperate gamble. Most advanced species had learned to avoid the Kronak, and primitive species lacked the technology to help even if they wanted to. Minutes passed like hours. The Kronak ships moved closer, their bioweapons charging for the final assault. Strange tentacles reached out from their hulls. testing the strength of the Volari shields. "Captain, the shields are down to 15%, reported the engineer. "Any response to our distress call?" "Nothing yet, Captain, wait." The communications officer's eyes widened as he stared at his instruments. "Captain, I'm receiving a response. It's coming from the same unknown source we detected earlier. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was different from any they had heard before. It was strong and confident, with an accent they could not identify. The universal translator worked, but barely. "This is Admiral Kim Dae-ho of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have received your distress call, Captain Velthara. We are preparing to respond to your situation. Hold your position and maintain shields as long as possible. Help is coming." Velthara stared at the communications panel in amazement. "Terran? I've never heard of that species. Are they in our databases?" Her first officer checked quickly. "No match, Captain. But they sound determined." Another transmission came through, this time from a different human voice. "Captain Velthara, this is Captain Lee Soo-jin of the carrier Busan Thunder. We're part of the response fleet heading to your location. Can you give us tactical information about your attackers?" Velthara quickly sent all the data they had collected about the Kronak ships, their weapons, and their behavior patterns. The human responses came back immediately, asking detailed questions about the biomechanical nature of the enemy vessels and their apparent weaknesses. "Captain," her tactical officer said, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system edge. Whatever these Terrans are bringing, it's big." The Kronak seemed to notice the approaching signals as well. Carthel's image appeared on screen again, his biomechanical features twisted with anger. "You have called for help, Volari. It will make no difference. We have consumed 1,000 species. We will add these newcomers to our swarm as well." But Velthara noticed something in the Kronak leader's voice that had not been there before. Uncertainty. Perhaps even the beginning of concern. Whatever was coming to help them, it was something the Kronak had never encountered before. The bridge crew waited in tense silence as unknown ships raced through space toward their location, carrying the hopes of 847 innocent lives. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the tactical display show 47 ships moving through space at maximum speed. The massive dreadnought shook slightly as its engines pushed beyond normal safety limits, but Kim had ordered maximum burn. Somewhere ahead, innocent people were dying while monsters fed on them. "Admiral, we're pushing the engines past recommended parameters," said Commander Park Min-ho, his face showing concern as he monitored the ship's systems. "How long until they fail completely?" Kim asked, his voice calm despite the urgency of their mission. "At this rate, maybe 12 hours before we risk serious damage. The civilians don't have 12 hours. Keep pushing." Kim had fought in 3 colonial wars, defending human settlements from raiders and hostile alien species. He had seen what happened when good people called for help and no one came. The memory of burned colonies and empty cities still haunted his dreams. Today, he would make sure that did not happen again. The response fleet was everything the Terran Defense Force could gather on short notice. Battleships with armor thick enough to survive direct nuclear hits. Destroyers fast enough to chase down pirates across entire star systems. Carriers loaded with fighters piloted by humans who learned to fly in Earth's violent storms. And support ships crammed with Marines trained to fight in environments that would kill most species. Captain Lee Soo-jin reviewed the fighter deployment plans aboard her carrier, Busan Thunder. 200 pilots sat in their ready rooms, checking equipment and reviewing the tactical data sent by the Volari ship. These men and women had trained in Earth's atmosphere, where hurricanes and lightning storms were considered mild weather. "Squadron leaders to the briefing room," Soo-jin announced over the ship's communication system. Major Kang Min-soo arrived first, his flight suit already sealed and ready. He had flown combat missions in the asteroid fields around Mars, where a single mistake meant death in the vacuum of space. The other squadron leaders followed, each one a veteran of humanity's expansion into their dangerous solar system. "Listen up," Soo-jin began, pointing to the holographic display showing the Kronak bioships. "These things are living vessels. They repair damage quickly and they adapt to attacks. They've never fought humans before, which means they don't know what we're capable of." She zoomed in on the bioship designs. "Intelligence suggests they rely on bioplasma weapons and ramming attacks. Their hulls are tough but flexible. We'll hit them fast and hard with everything we have." Major Kang studied the images. Captain, these ships look like they're designed for fighting other peaceful species. Long-range weapons, heavy armor, but slow and predictable movement patterns. Exactly. They expect their enemies to fight honorably. With formation flying and careful tactics, we're going to show them what Earth-style combat looks like. On the Marine transport Incheon Resolve, Colonel Yoon Tae-kyung addressed his troops. 3,000 soldiers sat in the cargo bay, their powered armor gleaming under the harsh lights. These men and women came from every corner of Earth, trained in deserts that could cook a person alive, jungles full of deadly creatures, and mountains where the air was too thin to breathe. "We've got boarding operations planned," Yoon announced, his voice carrying over the noise of the ship's engines. "These bioships have organic corridors and living walls. The atmosphere inside will be toxic to most species, but our suits can handle it. The gravity will be higher than Earth normal, but we've trained for that." Sergeant Lim Soo-jin raised her hand. "Sir, what about the enemy crew?" "Intelligence suggests they're biomechanical hybrids. Part living tissue, part machine. They'll be tough, but they've never fought humans in close combat. Remember your training. We didn't evolve on Earth's peaceful meadows. We come from a world where everything wanted to eat us." The soldiers laughed grimly. They had all grown up hearing stories about Earth's deadly wildlife, extreme weather, and natural disasters. Fighting biomechanical aliens would just be another Tuesday. In the engine rooms across the fleet, Chief Engineer Nam Ki-wook coordinated with his teams to keep the ships running at maximum efficiency. Human engineering was built for Earth's harsh conditions, where equipment had to function through earthquakes, solar storms, and atmospheric pressure that could crush most alien technology. "All ships reporting green across the board," Nam reported to Admiral Kim. "The new fusion reactors are handling the overload better than expected. We can maintain this speed for another 6 hours without significant risk." "What about weapon systems?" "All batteries ready, Admiral. Nuclear torpedoes armed and targeting computers online. The new plasma cannons are charged and ready for field testing." Kim nodded. "Human weapons were designed with one principle in mind: complete destruction of the target. While other species developed elegant energy weapons or sophisticated missiles, humans built bombs that could crack planets and bullets that could punch through any known armor." Communications Officer Han Yu-jin monitored the signals coming from the battle zone. "Admiral, the Volari ship is still holding position, but their shields are failing. The Kronak are preparing for their final assault. Time to intercept?" 47 minutes at current speed, sir." Kim studied the tactical display. The Kronak had 12 bioships surrounding the disabled Volari vessel. Intelligence suggested each one was roughly equivalent to a human cruiser in size, but with different capabilities. They seemed to prefer close-range combat and boarding actions. "Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for combat deployment. When we drop out of hyperspace, I want maximum surprise and overwhelming firepower. Throughout the fleet, crews prepared for battle, weapon systems powered up, shields activated, and fighter pilots climbed into their cockpits." But there was something different about this preparation compared to other military forces in the galaxy. The humans showed no fear, only cold determination. Lieutenant Commander Ro Dong-hyun, the fleet's senior navigator, plotted their emergence point. "Admiral, I recommend we drop out of hyperspace directly on top of the enemy formation. It will give us maximum tactical advantage, but the risk of collision is significant. Do it. These creatures prey on the weak and innocent. It's time they learned what happens when they threaten civilians in front of humans." The fleet raced through hyperspace, carrying weapons that most peaceful galactic civilizations had never imagined, and warriors trained by the most dangerous planet in known space. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that its children were about to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. In the Kepler 442 system, the Kronak swarm prepared to harvest their prey, unaware that they had just become the hunted. Space twisted and tore open as 47 human warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. The Terran fleet materialized directly between the Kronak swarm and their Volari prey, their sudden appearance sending shockwaves through both groups of aliens. Captain Velthara stared at her tactical display in amazement. The human ships were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Their hulls were thick and angular, built for durability rather than elegance. Strange markings covered their surfaces and weapon ports bristled from every angle. These were not ships built for exploration or diplomacy. These were weapons of war. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the newcomer fleet," her tactical officer reported, his voice filled with awe. Their power output is beyond anything we've ever recorded. The Kronak bioships immediately turned to face this unexpected threat. Swarm leader Carthol's image appeared on screens throughout his fleet, biomechanical features twisted with anger rather than concern. Unknown vessels, you interfere with Kronak feeding. Withdraw now or become part of the harvest. Admiral Kim's response came across all frequencies, his voice steady and cold. This is Admiral Kim Dae-ho of the Terran Defense Fleet. We have received a distress call from the vessel you are attacking. You will cease your assault immediately and withdraw from this system. Or we will consider your actions an act of war against civilians under our protection. Carthul's biomechanical laugh echoed through space. Humans, we have heard whispers of your species, primitive Deathworlders who barely understand space travel. Your crude ships cannot match Kronak biotechnology. You have 10 seconds to withdraw, Kim replied calmly. Or what, human? Your species is nothing compared to the Kronak swarm. We have consumed 1,000 civilizations. 5 seconds. Carthul's response was swift and violent. The largest Kronak bioship fired a massive bioplasma burst directly at the human flagship. The weapon had enough power to vaporize most galactic cruisers in a single hit. The Soul's pride did not even slow down. The bioplasma struck the ship's shields and scattered harmlessly into space. Admiral Kim's voice remained completely calm. Time's up. All ships weapons free. Show them why you don't threaten innocents in front of humans. Captain Lee Soo-jin was already launching fighters before the Admiral finished speaking. 200 human pilots screamed out of their carriers in craft that moved like angry insects. Major Kang Min-soo led the first squadron directly into the heart of the Kronak formation. All squadrons, this is Thunder Leader, Kang transmitted. Remember your training. These bioships are big and slow. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and keep moving. The human fighters moved through space like they were flying through Earth's atmosphere, pulling maneuvers that would crush most alien pilots under massive G-forces. They wove between bioplasma bursts with impossible precision, their movements chaotic and unpredictable. Carthul watched in growing alarm as his weapons consistently missed their targets. How do they move their ships like that? No species fights in 3 dimensions like this, but humans had learned aerial combat in Earth's gravity wells, where thinking in 3 dimensions meant survival. In the vacuum of space, without gravity to limit their movements, they became nearly impossible to track. Commander So Hyun-jae brought her destroyer Daegu Lightning in close to a Kronak bioship, using a combat maneuver that would terrify most species. She flew directly through the enemy's weapons fire, her ship's armor absorbing hits that would disable other vessels. All weapons, target the bioship's central mass, she ordered her crew. Full nuclear torpedo spread. 6 nuclear warheads struck the Kronak vessel simultaneously. The bioship's living hull tried to adapt and heal, but human nuclear weapons were designed to completely destroy their targets. The enemy vessel came apart in a brilliant flash of atomic fire. Throughout the Kronak fleet, similar scenes played out. The bioships found themselves fighting an enemy that ignored all the rules of civilized warfare. The humans attacked from every angle at once, used weapons that caused massive destruction, and showed no concern for their own safety. Lieutenant Colonel Yoon prepared his Marines for boarding operations. Teams Alpha through Delta prepare for assault. These bioships have organic atmospheres that will melt most alien equipment. Good thing we're not most aliens. The Marines launched from their ships in armored pods that punched directly through bioship hulls. The Kronak had never encountered enemies who would deliberately board their vessels, knowing the toxic atmosphere and crushing gravity inside. Sergeant Lim Soo-jin led her squad through the organic corridors of a Kronak bioship. The walls pulsed with life, secreting acid that would dissolve most known materials. Her powered armor, built to function in Earth's most extreme environments, barely registered the corrosive atmosphere. Contact front, one of her Marines called out as biomechanical Kronak warriors appeared ahead. The enemy soldiers were impressive specimens, part flesh and part machine, with built-in weapons and armor plating. They moved with mechanical precision and fired bioplasma weapons that could cut through most galactic armor, but they had never fought humans in close combat. The Marines moved like Earth predators, using tactics learned from fighting creatures that evolution had designed to kill them. They worked as a team, covering each other and striking from unexpected angles. The Kronak, used to fighting peaceful species, had no defense against such aggressive tactics. Corridor secured, Lim reported as the last biomechanical warrior fell, moving to the ship's central nerve cluster. Similar reports came from Marine units throughout the Kronak fleet. The bioships designed to fight other bioships in long-range combat were being torn apart from the inside by boarding parties that treated their toxic interiors as mildly uncomfortable. Admiral Kim watched the battle unfold from his command center. The tactical display showed Kronak bioships being systematically destroyed or disabled. What the aliens had expected to be a minor distraction was becoming a complete disaster. Admiral, Communications Officer Han reported, "The Kronak are attempting to coordinate their retreat. Several bioships are trying to break off and escape. Negative. Let none of them leave. Any species that preys on civilians needs to learn there are consequences." Captain Velthara watched the battle in stunned silence. The human fleet was not just fighting the Kronak. They were hunting them with the methodical precision of apex predators. Every movement was calculated for maximum destruction. Every attack designed to eliminate the enemy completely. "Captain," her first officer whispered, "what kind of species fights like this?" Velthara could only shake her head in amazement. One that learned warfare on a world where everything was trying to kill them. The battle was becoming a massacre, and the Kronak were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. The systematic destruction of the Kronak swarm continued with terrifying efficiency. What had begun as a rescue mission was becoming a demonstration of why human military doctrine had evolved on the most dangerous planet in known space. Swarm Leader Carthel watched his bioships fall one by one, each defeat more shocking than the last. His organic neural networks, designed to process information from thousands of consumed species, could not comprehend what he was witnessing. These humans fought like the universe itself was actively trying to kill them. "All units concentrate fire on the human flagship," Carthel ordered through his biocommunication system. "Overwhelm their primitive shields with combined plasma strikes." 6 Kronak bioships turned their weapons on the Soul's Pride, unleashing a barrage of bioplasma that had destroyed entire planets. The energy beams struck Admiral Kim's vessel with enough force to vaporize most galactic dreadnoughts. The human flagship did not even slow down, hull temperature rising but within acceptable parameters, reported the ship's engineer. "Shield strength at 78%. Admiral Kim nodded calmly. "Return fire. All batteries." The Soul's Pride responded with a weapons barrage that made the Kronak attack look like a gentle breeze. Nuclear torpedoes, plasma cannons, and kinetic kill vehicles struck the bioships simultaneously. 2 of them simply ceased to exist, their organic components unable to adapt fast enough to the overwhelming destruction. Colonel Yoon's Marines had fought their way to the central nervous system of the largest Kronak bioship. The corridor around them pulsed with biomechanical components that tried desperately to seal hull breaches and repair damage. But human weapons were designed to cause irreparable harm. "Charges set," reported Sergeant Lim as her squad placed explosives throughout the ship's brain center. "This should shut down their coordination completely." The bioship's organic walls began secreting a toxic substance that would kill most known life forms within seconds. The Marines' environmental suits detected the poison and automatically sealed all external connections. "Air scrubbers working overtime," one Marine commented casually. "This stuff would dissolve most alien armor in minutes." "Good thing we're not most aliens," Lim replied, arming the final explosive charge. "All teams prepare for extraction. This ship is about to lose its mind." The explosives detonated simultaneously, severing the bioship's central nervous system. The massive vessel convulsed as its organic components lost coordination, weapons firing randomly into space while its hull began to collapse. Throughout the battle zone, similar scenes played out as human boarding parties systematically dismantled the Kronak bioships from within. The aliens discovered that their vessels, designed to fight other bioships in space, were helpless against enemies who treated toxic atmospheres and crushing gravity as minor inconveniences. Captain Lee Soo-jin coordinated fighter strikes from the bridge of her carrier. The tactical display showed human fighters swarming around Kronak bioships like angry hornets, their unpredictable flight patterns making them nearly impossible to target. "Thunder Leader to all squadrons," Major Kang transmitted. "These bioships are adapting to our attack patterns. Switch to Earth storm protocols." The human fighters immediately changed their tactics, using maneuvers developed for flying through hurricanes and tornado systems on Earth. They moved in chaotic spirals and sudden direction changes that followed no predictable pattern, because they had learned to fight in weather systems that were themselves chaotic and unpredictable. The Kronak bioships, evolved for precise biomechanical coordination, could not adapt to such random combat styles. Their targeting systems, designed to track orderly formations and predictable movements, failed completely against human. Chaos warfare engineer Nam Ki-wook monitored battle damage across the human fleet from his control center aboard the support ship Jeju. Despite the intensity of the fighting, human casualties remained surprisingly low. Admiral, damage report from all vessels, he transmitted to the flagship. Minor hull scoring on 3 destroyers, 1 fighter lost to enemy fire, and some shield generator overheating on the Busan Thunder. All ships remain fully combat capable. Admiral Kim was not surprised. Human engineering standards were based on surviving Earth's solar storms, seismic activity, and corrosive atmosphere. Equipment that could function in such conditions was nearly indestructible by galactic standards. The Kronak swarm leader made a desperate decision. His largest remaining bioship, a massive vessel nearly 2 kilometers long, began accelerating directly toward the human flagship. If he could not defeat these Deathworlders with weapons, he would ram them with pure mass. "Sir, enemy flagship is on a collision course," reported Lieutenant Commander Rowe from his navigation station. "Impact in 90 seconds at current speed. Evasive maneuvers?" Commander Park asked nervously. Admiral Kim studied the tactical display calmly. "Negative. Helm execute combat turn starboard. Bring us parallel to their approach vector. Sir, that maneuver will subject the crew to 8 times Earth gravity. Execute the order." The Soul's Pride twisted through space in a maneuver that would liquefy most galactic species. The human crew, wearing gravity suits designed for Earth's extreme conditions, merely grunted under the massive acceleration forces. The Kronak bioship, committed to its ramming attack, could not match such an extreme course change. Instead of striking the human flagship head-on, it passed harmlessly alongside while Admiral Kim's ship positioned itself for a perfect weapons solution. "All batteries, fire for effect," Kim ordered, his voice steady despite the crushing gravity. "Target their primary biomass concentrations." The concentrated firepower of humanity's most advanced warship struck the Kronak flagship at point-blank range. Nuclear warheads detonated against biomechanical armor, plasma cannons burned through organic hulls, and kinetic weapons punched massive holes through the enemy vessel. The bioship tried desperately to repair itself, its living components working frantically to seal breaches and regrow damaged sections. But human weapons were designed with one goal: complete and total destruction of the target. The Kronak flagship broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up the entire star system. Carthul's final transmission was a mixture of biomechanical screams and electronic static as his ship disintegrated around him. With their leader destroyed, the remaining Kronak bioships attempted to flee the system, but Admiral Kim had positioned his fleet to prevent any escape routes. "All ships pursue and destroy," he commanded. "No Kronak vessel leaves this system. Any species that preys on innocent civilians needs to learn there are consequences." The human fleet spread out across the star system, hunting down fleeing bioships with methodical precision. The Kronak, used to fighting species that valued honor and mercy, discovered that humans showed no quarter to those who threatened the helpless. Captain Velthara watched the systematic destruction of the Kronak swarm from her disabled ship. Each human attack was calculated for maximum effect, each maneuver designed to trap or destroy the enemy. These were not warriors fighting for territory or resources. These were protectors eliminating a threat to innocent life. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "the humans are transmitting on Kronak frequencies. They're sending the battle footage to the entire Kronak collective." Velthara realized the implications immediately. The humans were not just destroying this particular swarm. They were sending a message to every Kronak in the galaxy. This is what happens when you threaten civilians in human space. Within hours, the last Kronak bioship was reduced to debris. The system fell silent except for the steady hum of human warships patrolling the area, ensuring no survivors could escape to threaten others. The galaxy had just witnessed the emergence of a species unlike any other, humans who fought not for conquest, but for the protection of those who could not protect themselves. The debris field that had once been the Kronak swarm drifted silently through space, a testament to what happened when predators encountered true apex hunters. Admiral Kim stood on his bridge watching human ships patrol the area to ensure no biomechanical survivors could regenerate and escape. "Admiral, we're receiving transmission from the Valari vessel," Communications Officer Han reported. "Captain Velthara requests permission to come aboard." Kim nodded. "Grant permission. Have her shuttle escorted to Docking Bay 3, full diplomatic honors." An hour later, Captain Velthara stepped aboard a human warship for the first time. The corridors were wider than those on Valari vessels, built to accommodate humans in bulky armor. The walls were thick metal rather than elegant composite materials, designed to withstand damage that would destroy most galactic ships. But what struck her most was the crew themselves. Every human she passed moved with controlled grace, their eyes alert and aware of their surroundings. These were people who had evolved on a world where constant vigilance meant survival. Admiral Kim met her in his ready room, a sparse chamber decorated only with images of Earth and the flags of various human colonies. He was a tall man with graying hair and scars on his hands that spoke of a lifetime of military service. "Captain Velthara," Kim said, standing respectfully, "I'm honored to meet you. I'm sorry it took us so long to respond to your distress call." Velthara stared at him in amazement. "Admiral, your fleet traveled across half the galaxy in less than 20 hours and destroyed an enemy that has consumed entire star systems. There is nothing to apologize for." She looked around the room, noting the practical furniture and functional design. "Your species, Admiral Kim. You fight like warriors from our ancient legends before we learned to resolve conflicts through diplomacy." Kim gestured for her to sit in one of the chairs. "Captain, we appreciate peace more than most species because we know the cost of war. But on Earth, everything from our weather to our smallest creatures tried to kill us for millions of years. We learned that sometimes the only way to protect peace is to be prepared for war. The way your ships moved, the tactics you used, no galactic civilization fights like that." "Because no galactic civilization evolved on Earth," Kim replied simply. "We developed our military doctrine fighting hurricanes, earthquakes, and predators that saw us as food. When we reached space, we brought those lessons with us." Dr. C.O.G. Wu, the fleet's xenobiologist, entered the room carrying a data pad. "Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the Kronak bioships. These creatures weren't just raiders. They were a plague species, converting every civilization they encountered into more bioships." Kim turned to Velthara. "Captain, how many species has the Kronak swarm consumed?" "According to our historical records, at least 47 different civilizations over the past 2 centuries. They appeared from dark space, consumed everything they found, then disappeared again." "Not anymore," Kim said grimly. "My communications officer tells me the battle was monitored by dozens of galactic civilizations. Word is spreading about what happened here. Indeed, across the galaxy, the news was traveling faster than the human fleet had. On the peaceful worlds of the Altarian Republic, leaders watched battle recordings in stunned silence. The Crystalline Collective, a species of silicon-based life forms, transmitted the footage through their quantum networks. Even the ancient Ethereal Council, oldest of the galactic civilizations, observed the battle with something approaching awe. Captain Velthara accessed her own ship's communication array and showed Admiral Kim the flood of messages they had received. "Admiral, we've had contact requests from 37 different species in the last 6 hours. Everyone wants to know about humans. Some are offering trade agreements. Others are requesting mutual defense pacts." Kim studied the list of alien civilizations. "What do they want from us?" "Protection, Admiral. For the first time in galactic history, there's a species willing and able to stand up to the predator races. The peaceful civilizations want to ally with you. The aggressive species want to avoid you entirely." Commander Park Min-ho entered the ready room with an urgent expression. "Admiral, priority transmission from Earth. The President wants to speak with you immediately." The view screen activated, showing the image of Earth's President in her office in Geneva. Behind her, through the windows, Kim could see the blue and green world that had forged humanity into what they were. "Admiral Kim, the entire galaxy is talking about the battle at Kepler 442. We've received over 200 diplomatic communications in the past 4 hours. Everyone wants to know what humanity's intentions are." Kim considered his words carefully. "Madam President, I recommend we establish a clear policy. Humanity will respond to any distress call from civilian vessels regardless of species. We will not tolerate attacks on non-combatants. And we will treat any assault on peaceful explorers or scientists as an attack on the principles we swore to defend. The President nodded. Admiral, you've just defined Earth's first galactic foreign policy. Are you prepared to enforce it across the galaxy? With respect, Madam President, we already have. The Kronak transmitted footage of this battle to their entire collective before we destroyed them. Every predator species in the galaxy now knows what happens when they threaten innocence in human space. Captain Velthara listened to this conversation with growing amazement. These humans were not conquering the galaxy or demanding tribute from weaker species. They were establishing themselves as protectors of anyone who needed help. Admiral, she said softly, may I ask you something? Kim turned to her. Of course, Captain. Why did you come? Your species barely knows us. We offer nothing your people need. You risked your entire fleet for strangers. Kim was quiet for a long moment, then walked to the viewport showing the debris field where the Kronak had died. Captain, on Earth we have a saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. Your distress call reached us, and we had the power to help. That made it our responsibility. He turned back to face her. My species spent millions of years learning to survive on the most dangerous planet we know of. We didn't become strong so we could conquer others. We became strong so we could protect what matters. Over the following days, as the human fleet escorted the Volari ship home, the galaxy began to understand what humanity represented. Not another aggressive species seeking territory, but guardians who would cross vast distances to protect the innocent. The Kronak Collective, receiving the transmitted warnings from the destroyed swarm, began avoiding any system where humans might respond. Other predator species, seeing the complete destruction of bioships designed to be invincible, started seeking easier prey in uninhabited regions. Meanwhile, peaceful civilizations that had lived in fear for centuries began to hope. For the first time in galactic history, there was a species that would answer when victims called for help. Admiral Kim stood on his bridge as the fleet prepared to return to Earth, watching alien ships from a dozen different species escorting them with honor guards. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the protectors that peaceful civilizations never knew they needed. Admiral, Commander Park said quietly, do you think we're ready for this responsibility? Kim looked out at the stars, thinking of all the innocent lives that might be calling for help at this very moment. Park, we became ready the moment we decided that other people's lives matter as much as our own. Earth raised us to be survivors. Now it's time to help others survive too. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization. In the depths of space, predator species began to fear. Peaceful species began to hope, and everyone learned the same lesson. When innocents call for help, humans answer with overwhelming force and no mercy for those who prey on the weak. The age of human protection had begun.